Hello, everybody. Welcome back Inside the Music with your host, StereoRuss. We're here in the beautiful Catherine North Studios, and we're here today with the one, the only, Danny Miles.
That's me. Don't Google it, because there's more than one. But we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
The other ones don't matter.
When you find another Danny or another Danny Miles, are you like, do you feel a kinship?
Yeah, well, I guess like if as most of us like egocentric artists, you like Google yourself to check out what's going on. And so there's the most famous Danny Miles is I think he's a retired basketball coach, like college basketball coach, NCAA guy. He would be the one that pops up. And then there's a semi-professional wrestler called Danny Miles. Those are the two that I'm competing with. And this podcast is going to put me number one.
I'm wondering how you can do a thing where all three of you could work together. You've got like
sick.
A drumming, wrestling, basketball event.
It sounds like a good like reality show or something.
Yeah, I would watch it.
Yeah, I'd watch it. We all switch and do each other's things and see how it goes.
There we go. We got something.
I just want to wear the wrestling leotard.
Yeah.
I guess I could do that anyways.
Yeah. Well,
I don't need this reality show to do that.
Danny Miles here, drummer, DJ, producer, photographer. He's
Father.
Shout out. I think actually the first time I met you, I'm not sure if you remember this, but I think I was just standing beside you at Supercrawl one year. I'm not sure if you remember this. And we were at the North Stage, and we were watching, I think, Superstar Crush was playing, like a young band. And I saw you with your... Ziggy. Shout out Ziggy.
Yeah.
Are they into music?
Yeah, she seems to be into music. She'll just start, like, singing, and I'm just like, can I steal that melody?
Can you just sing that again?
Sing that. Sometimes I record her. I have sampled her a few times. I'll make videos of her, and she's, like, sassy and got a lot of attitude. So, like, I sampled her going like, what? It was a good hip hop sample. I actually just made a song for her that I think is kind of sick, to be honest. I might release it. It's kind of a kid song, but it's also a hip hop-y kid song.
What do you mean it's kind of...
What makes it a kid? I
I
always sang this song to her just out of nowhere, like Ziggy Ziggy Cocoa Pops. And then... one day I always had an intention of like making her a song, and then I did just do that. And it is kind of in a kid's world because it's got counting and ABCs and all this stuff. But I showed it to Ben Rispin, who I've been working on a lot of my new music with. He's like, that's a hit. That's a hit. I was like, okay, I don't know. So who knows what's going to happen with it, if it will be released or not or what have. But yeah, it's I do think it's a cool song.
As someone who is a musician myself, and I mentioned before this podcast, I like kind of started doing podcasting, and it just for fun, and turned into something like, you know, it doesn't hurt to put something out there and then see what the heck. Who knows? You might be the next Fred Penner.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Imagine.
Gotta like crawling through logs. I gotta do something different though. Can't do the log thing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not against releasing a children's song, that's for sure. And it's definitely got like, it's in the world of like what I do anyways. I made it the same way, and so I think like it wouldn't annoy parents as much as some of the stuff that's out there.
I bet that, I think there's got to be a market for that.
Yeah.
Less annoying children's music
would be my most successful thing that I did.
Yeah. You never know.
We'll see what happens. I made it not too long ago, so it's in my head to release at some point.
Well, let's maybe use that as our kind of like benchmark and maybe walk backwards. So for someone like yourself, you know, just I would classify you as like a general creative. It's like you're kind of going wherever the creativity takes you. So kind of like walk us through kind of what you're doing currently, and maybe where people might know you from, and we'll kind of start piecing the pieces together of who is the one and only Danny Miles.
Yeah, I think what I'm doing currently is I've started like a whole new thing where I've started like singing lead vocals. That was like a new thing for me. I hadn't done that. I had done some like backup vocals or chorus stuff for Tongue Helmet, was a group that I did with Timbuktu, rapper from Swamp Thing, of 2019. I think that came out. And I would sing some chorus stuff and like write hooks and choruses like that. And I feel like it was something I really liked to do, and it felt natural to me. But yeah, this new stuff I've been putting out, Not Gonna Fit In and All We Do Is Party, are out currently, and that's me doing everything instrumentally and doing lead vocals, backup vocals, whatever is in the song. And I started as a drummer, and that's what I've been doing for decades, and best known as the drummer for the band July Talk. And so, yeah, I think I've learned a lot from being in that band and like watching the rest of the very creative, multi-creative people in that band. I think everyone does different things in that group. And at this point, it's starting to feel a little bit like a broken social scene type of group. Like everyone,
In what
like
way?
we got active. Well, it's just like everyone's kind of got like their own, whether it's released or not, like everyone's got like solo stuff,
Mini
or
projects, side projects.
Ian's and Dwayne Gretzky, Peter and Leia are acting. Peter was just in the, blockbuster Hollywood smash Sinners. Josh has solo stuff, Danny Nash solo stuff, like everyone does that kind of thing. So yeah, just from years of creating with them and writing and like being in the studio, I think I learned a lot. And then finally just like went and started doing things on my own, like pushing it as I always have, especially recently in the past 5-6 years, like pushing the envelope creatively for myself.
Doing like production.
Yeah, like
that.
doing like the production thing for hip hop production was one that like I would do, as I said, like Tongue Helmet, I'd work with Timbuktu and like learned stuff from him, kind of like backseat producing, and then started doing it on my own. And just like seeing where that took me. And then photography, I do that as well and have the book out. I don't know.
I think that's important to kind of like showcase as we kind of get going. Like, yeah, you do have so many different things, and like a lot of, I would say, like people who started in music, you start with your instrument, and not that you hit a wall, but like, you kind of do your thing, and like you can kind of learn more techniques and more skills. And at least for me, like coming from guitar, it's like, okay, you kind of hit a point where you're like, I feel pretty good. Well,
yeah.
Like where that creative spark might take you somewhere else. So for you said you started like in production, say like 5 years ago, 6 or 7 years. Was that like a COVID, pre-COVID thing, or was it like?
I've been doing it for years. The first album that I ever was involved in that got put out was a group called Toolshed, again with Tim Wallace. We were in London. I was like 16 or 17, and I was good friends with his brother. He was a bit older, but he was making hip hop beats at that point, and he had the group Toolshed, and I would go and bug them and like show me some songs.
Sorry,
there might have been underage drinking involved at that house. So
No, you weren't.
drunk
Way.
teenage me was just wanting to hear what they were working on in hip hop songs, and then eventually that like it got me into like I played drums on their first like full length release, I guess. And that was where I started working on producing. So I was pretty young when that.
So that was kind of always in there. It was kind of always in there.
So I was like kind of did it, and then got into a group called The Job, which was like a Buzzcocks J retard punk group that we're in London when we started, and then we moved to Toronto, and we got like a buzz in Toronto going, and so that kind of like sparked the whole starting to meet people in the Toronto music scene. And that band, unfortunately, just like through immature egos, I guess, like kind of disbanded, folded.
That can happen.
Broke up is what they call it.
That can happen.
But through that, I met a guy named Ryder Havdale, who was he was like Mohawk Lodge was his group, and he asked me if I could play drums on a European tour. And I went and did that, and the people that were hired to be in that band were Peter Drymanis, singer of July Talk, and Eamon McGrath. And so that's where I met those guys. And so pretty quickly, this was around Christmas 2010, and then July Talk started in 2011, February 2011. And by like mid 2011, we had our first record done. and it all just like went really fast. So the manager and guy who recorded the first July Talk was this guy, Alex Bonifant. And he loved the job, and he always wanted to record the job. And so that is kind of how that all happened so quickly too. He got his like agent, and like, yeah, it went pretty quickly.
I'm trying to piece it together, and I knew of your story to a degree, but not obviously this depth. And it's just like, when you're 16, 17, 18, like, are you really pushing it? Like, I've got to tour the world. I've got to tour Europe. Like, was that something you were so dead set on? Or is it something that, like, just because you were doing what you're doing, it just kind of naturally happened?
I think I always, even from younger, I'm not going to get into it, but I always loved music. It was always my passion. I was like, had posters of all my Kurt Cobain.
I was going to ask, what were the posters?
Like Beastie Boys and Red Hot Chili Pepper, like whatever. I was a 90s grunge kid, and too young to like be into that, but my uncle was 12 years older. He was kind of like my brother, so I was like got into all that stuff early. And yeah, so I always had been like passionate about music, but until I met Peter and Eamon, I don't think I ever took it as like, oh, this can be a career.
Right.
Like I never thought about it as a business side. I still don't naturally do that. I like the creating part. Unfortunately, like, especially you really have to, and especially nowadays, you have to do a lot of that yourself. Like maybe back in the day, the label was doing that kind of stuff for you, but like nowadays you have to be like promoting yourself, doing these types of things and social media and all that stuff. It doesn't come naturally to me. I'm more about like, I want to just like keep creating. But until I met those guys, Peter and Eamon, I didn't think of it as a career. But those guys, and
were they really kind of like, they're in
just
it like that?
They're younger. I think they're like 6 years younger than I am. But yeah, their work ethic was insane. And like, I think it's the high school they went to, which I'm drawing. They both come from Edmonton, grew up together. It's also where Mac DeMarco went to high school. Like,
oh, really?
There's just something about this high school. I'm trying to remember what it's called. People will know. But I think they were taught more of like a business side. It was like an art high school. So
interesting. Kind of like, here's art, but also here's
how you like
here's how
do
you
it professionally, become a professional artist, musician, creative. And so that whole side was new to me. And then watching it develop in July Talk was wild. I had never seen any, like, if anyone thinks that art is something that you can like kind of just do casually and slack off or do it on the side, like, it's not.
No.
Like, you need to work 100%, 110% hard. Like, as hard as you do at any job, maybe harder, because it's very competitive, and it's not a joke. Like, July Talk worked so hard. We were on the road for 8 years. Like, I was barely home. You know, it was just like super fun and rewarding, and like one of the best times of my life, but also like psychologically draining and all the different things, physically hard.
Like the road,
the road, like touring that much is wild. It's just like
I'm curious about that. As someone who, like, you know, you hear about touring stories. Like, what's if someone who's like maybe younger and they want to do their first tour and they're about to embark on, like, being that you've been through it.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for survival on the road?
One, I think the music industry is, after the pandemic's, very different. I can't like figure it out. So I don't know if it's necessary for them to do what we did. Like, TikTok seems to be the way to go or something. Like, I'm not totally sure. But what I will say is, yeah, I think it's just like, I think July Talk as a band, we all are respectful of each other and get along well, even at this point, almost 15 years into our band. But there's no doubt like an underlying, and I think we would all agree, whether we want to talk about it, but there's an underlying like PTSD trauma from the amount of time we spent together and on tour, and how we grinded it. We weren't just like, our biggest tours weren't on tour buses, and like we were in a van like with a trailer and just like nonstop going and barely sleeping. So like our second record, Touch, which it will be 10 years anniversary next year, and we have big plans for that. But that tour, like the first tour we did when we released that, was 4 months long, only home to play a couple shows in Toronto, but like not like we weren't actually home. We were just like in Toronto and then back out. Like we were in like the US and then went to Europe and then did a Canadian thing and then US and then Europe, like all nonstop. And doing like radio promotion and shows.
Sure.
And in a van. So I think it was just like, and minimal crew. So yeah, I think that tour, like as like what an amazing memory it was for us. There's also like this like lingering thing that never left any of us. It changed us forever.
I'm good at this analogy. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I get this analogy to like welding. Like you guys were in such a pressure cooker that you all just like fused together.
Well, you definitely become like family. It's more like you're like, I don't even consider them friends. Like they're like my brothers and sisters, and it's like your family. So like how you feel about your family, you know that you're so close that sometimes you say things you don't mean, or like you can be yourself more around them. So if you're not in a good mood or you're not feeling great, you know, there's all these things that you do with your family and you're just connected forever. Cause I do feel like no matter what, I'm connected to July Talk members forever, whether we talk or not.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's more than friendship. It's just like this like wild bond. And I think a lot of musicians, when you click with musicians or creative, or like creating with people, it is a fast track to like getting this like bond with people, I find.
Totally.
There's something that, you know, there's a deeper thing to it.
I think it's beautiful that you guys in July Talk have lasted the test of time. Not only like musically, like your music is so specific to a time like that early 2010, but like even I was like listening back to it all, like prepping for this, and like, man, it's still so fresh. Like there's so much great stuff going on there.
Sweet.
For me, as someone who does like kind of a production nerd, it kind of feels like the beginning of modern production. Whereas you get the 90s, which had its own kind of like dark kind of production, and then like the 2000s was kind of like a bounce back to that, and like trying to figure out the digital and the live instrumentation. I feel like July Talk is one of those first bands that really kind of like figured it out.
Yeah, I guess that's the era of that stuff, like the first record. And I know, like, as I said, Alex Bonifant produced that. I know, like, interesting enough, I know, like, there's, like, he loves, like, Nirvana and Utero. So do I. Like, one of my favorite records of all time.
Yeah.
So I think, like, some of his production, he also produced, like, Mets. Like, he did a bunch of stuff that people know from that era, too. So he likes the heavier side of things. But I agree, there's a sound to that July Talk record. The one thing about July Talk, and I've talked about this recently with people, is, like, there's an undeniable connection with those people, and there always was. I've been in other groups, as I said, there was a connection and things were cool, some more than others, but like that was like an immediate like creative connection. It still is. Like we've been working on new material, and I'm just kind of like, we didn't really rehearse. We didn't do much. It was more of like making songs in the studio, and you like hear it. Some of it's like kind of done and mixed, and you're like, what? Like, that's wild. Like, it's got some of the old school like vibe and energy, but there's like a new thing that like was unspoken that is coming out of it, and it really is just like put us in a room, and it's still working, which is wild. We've been in the studio, as I said, it's going to be Touch, our second record's 10-year anniversary, and that was like, not only was it our craziest tour time. Like, even to the point where we were working on that record in the studio, and we got asked to open for Alabama Shakes. So we left the studio, did a few shows with them, and then came back. But we were just writing and recording and demoing like crazy. So we went back recently and like looked at some of these old songs that we hadn't listened to in probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap. Like, some of these should have been on the record. Like,
yeah,
they're just like, it was a really solid creative writing period. So I guess I shouldn't talk too much about what's happening because it's not announced. But
I do have one last question about them that I want to get into your own project. How much did playing in that band inform and perhaps change the way you approach drums?
Again, there was more of a business mainstreamy vibe to that band always. Like, I think one thing I'll say about that group and why it does feel like timeless and not for like everything we have done has always been pretty natural. And when we've tried to, and like really what we feel and what has come out of us. And I think that's when you listen to the different records and the style changes from record to record, like it's natural. We're not trying to pretend or like do what we did before or try to make something for radio. Like it's all just like naturally what we were making and like felt like making. But there was always like let's make accessible music. So the thing that happened with my drumming in that band, as I said, I was in the job. Like I was technically, I still don't think technically I'm the greatest drummer of all time for sure. But I was like a frantic energy drummer, and I still am. It's naturally what I am. But I was like, it was way more chaos. And I think it was flashier. Like I got a lot of back then, why I was asked to like even do that tours, because like I think when people watch me drum, they're like, "Holy crap! Like that guy's doing crazy.
This guy's doing it.
It's crazy."
Yeah.
And then when we started doing July Talk, it was a lot more like, okay, you got to like play your role, hold it down, play to a click, you know, like so that type of thing. No, we don't play to a click live still, but we record to a click, and that was like a new thing, for me when we started doing it. I had never done that before, and so like learning that. And I think it just made me much more of a like organized, precise kind of drummer. Mm-hmm. I think now like, with my solo stuff too that I'm working, like I think I'm like incorporating a bit of what naturally, like there are times in July Talk where I feel like, especially early on, that I was like kind of like restrained.
Yeah,
like it wasn't naturally what I wanted to do.
You want to, you like bottled up back there.
There was
bit.
Like, and I think maybe you can feel it at times. But like again, it's what serviced the song, and that is most important to me. And it clearly worked on like a successful level to what the success of July Talk is. We're not U2, but like that type of success where I didn't work a job for 10 years, and I'm blessed and very grateful for that.
Yeah. I mean? And like when I first heard you guys on Edge 102 how many years ago, like it really caught me. And then I was like, whoa, they're from Toronto. Like, holy smokes. And so like I can understand that, especially in the world of guitar. Like everyone wants to play like Slash or something like that. But like no one wants to hear that, right? Like that's for your, so it's like, that restraint, and then having to like figure out how to, you know, when to bring it in. It's like, you know, like a maximalist painting. Like, don't always do that. Sometimes bring it back, and finding that balance in a commercial setting, I can imagine, is challenging. So when you're now, you know, doing July Talk, you're starting to get creative with other projects, like you're a drummer. And normally it's like easier for a singer and a guitar player to be like, oh, I'll just play acoustic gigs. I'll just do my own thing. So kind of walk me through when you're like, okay, you're in July Talk, and now you're like, I want to do my own solo live drum performances.
Well, when I worked on when I put out this record, Beautiful Music, which is an all instrumental hip hop kind of world, very like Madlib DJ Shadow world,
where it's like short little clips, and
they're like a minute and a half, like seamless. I made it for vinyl. And I made it to like listen to it.
It's a fun listen. Like it's like background, foreground music is the way I would describe it.
I'm very proud of it. It's definitely it's that. It's like you can like put it on during a dinner party, and people be like, oh, like every once in a while they'll be like, what is that? But also at the same time, it doesn't distract from anything.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
And that was the intention of it. And when I decided to play that live, I wanted to do something different than me just like standing behind turntables or whatever you see. And so I did a thing where I like took out drums and some of the samples, and I had like a more elaborate drum kit with percussion and stuff like that. And then I would play it live too. Also, Tyson Bodnarchuk, who did the album art, he did videos for every song on that record. So when I play this record live, I incorporate his videos on projections, and it's like a non-stop, seamless performance. Okay. So it's just like I don't stop, and it starts. The video starts, basically. There is a different way for me to do this, but unfortunately, it's just me when I'm doing this, and I don't have anyone to like trigger videos, or it would just be a lot more complicated. So I just like put a video together, press play on that, and then I like perform for 32 minutes, I think it is.
Okay.
Non-stop, and I can't mess up, because it's to click, and it'll just be
for real
chaos.
So
it's just like, and I
so
have
it's
to,
not-
I
it's
had
not
to
just-
rehearse for like a month probably at least, just like timing everything I was doing, like triggering samples and like pressing play on the next track. Like it all kind of had to like line up, and it doesn't all the time.
I was
But it's
gonna
close
ask, like-
enough. People don't notice. I think there's like not really any leeway, but you can kind of get away with it.
It's kind of like if you're drawing on the lines and like you're a little bit off the lines, but that also kind of like adds to the art. It's a live performance.
Yeah, it's a live performance. Like it's all, as much as I'm playing the tracks and click and stuff, I still like it's. There is also some improvisation that I do. I don't like necessarily just play the drum part the same every time. I do different fills and like add things, and it's just more like I actually got nominated for a London Music Award where I'm from recently, and they had me like on the jazz. They had me perform with like the jazz performance and classical.
That'd be a bit of a trip as someone who's self-taught, right?
Yeah, it was wild. It was just like a cool experience. It's not people even that I like hang out with a lot. So I do associate sometimes with jazz musicians, but this was like all jazz and classical people. So it was cool to hang out. The response was really positive, which was awesome. But I do think it kind of fits in that world a bit.
Yeah, because I think like a lot of like early sampling of like hip hop was sampled from jazz records.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So it has like roots in jazz. So
yeah.
like I can understand how it does connect. So that's pretty cool because someone who came up with like, you know, Nirvana posters, right? And In Utero, which is my favorite Nirvana album, by the way. To go from there to, you know, being nominated for, you know, in the jazz categories, like it's exciting when you take a look back in your creative navigation. You're like, I couldn't have predicted this.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I was always a massive Beastie Boys fan, as well, if you couldn't tell. But I feel like I just like dress like check your head. But obviously there's a lot of funk and jazz and stuff in that, which you don't even realize when you're a kid. You're just listening to it like, that's Beastie Boys. And then like you get older and start to like listen. You're like, whoa, they just like took that whole section. That's what you learn about hip hop. You can't really do it anymore. Obviously there's like crazy sample laws.
Yeah, for those that don't know, yeah, like if you sample something, you have to like pay the rights for it.
If you're sampling stuff, you either are gonna have to like pay and like find those. It's not easy to clear samples, and I think it's like more
and a lot of it isn't
worth.
even through the artist; it's through their
It's through the management, so they don't give a crap. You could have like an artist be like, "No, I'm totally cool with it," but the manager's like, "No, we're gonna like charge you this much money." It's like I don't make money. Like, what are you taking? But yeah, there's ways around it and things. But you even see like some of the like more underground hip hop artists that like I like that may not be super. I don't know. I'm curious how those guys like clear Madlib Alchemist, how they're clearing all their samples all the time because they use like long loops,
big chunks.
But yeah, sometimes it gets pulled down. Like albums will get pulled down because someone figures out that they sampled something, or like, you know.
When you're creating a beat, where do you start? Are you behind the kit? Are you behind a keyboard? Are you behind a computer? Are you behind some sort of like drum machine? Like, where normally are you kind of starting these things?
There's different ways to make songs, obviously. Like, you don't have one way, but one way that I commonly start a song these days is I have two studios at this point. And one has my drums. Right now, I record to no click, and I just play. I just like play a bunch of drums, whatever I'm feeling, and then like take that home and like go through and like find loops of myself, and then make that whatever BPM I happen to be playing at that loops properly. That's what I start working with, and then sometimes I'll grab like a sample. I have a whole library of vinyl samples that like thousands probably of things that I've just sampled over the years that are just like I've put in a library under different headings. It's organized, which is I recommend this for producers and like putting like horns, drums, guitar, but I go through and I put them all in folders, and then I'll go through that and like find something and then like put it into my MIDI controller and just chop it, play it, and then from there, I just like start. So I start with drums, maybe a sample that inspires something. And then who knows, like sometimes I have many different guitars and synths and different things, percussion. Like I play I have cello now. Like literally, like I just am playing. Not that I play cello well or can play it at all, but you can really make cool sounds out of anything, any instrument. Sometimes you use my daughter's toys or whatever. But now that I'm doing vocals too, like I get to a point in the beat where I feel like, okay, this is the point where I'm gonna like just try. Like I usually don't write lyrics ahead of time. I'll like scat stuff. Like I'll just go in and just like whatever's coming out of me, and then I'll go like listen to it, and that's where like words will just form. Like, and then that's kind of where the topic and melody take off. But yeah, a song, like it can change, and it does. Like it'll change. I'll revisit them and come back and like complete. Sometimes I go to work on a song to try to improve it, and then a whole other song. Like I write a whole other song where none of the elements of the thing that I started working on are in it. And then I'm like, okay, that's a whole new song.
I like that because you weren't planning on it.
I never did accomplish what I was trying to do from the other song.
I know that feeling, man. I like that though, because then you're like, okay, I've got that one in the can now. I got two. I woke up today, I thought I had one. Like they multiplied. So
yeah. So who knows? I just kind of like follow. I just follow the creativity and go with it.
Me and Danny Miles. Danny, if people want to get a hold of you or find you, where on earth or on the internet can they find you?
6375309. Yeah, don't call.
I thought of that song the other day. That's so weird you did that. I literally thought of that song like 2 days ago. I'm like, what would happen if you called that number?
I feel like that was I read about that. I think it was like a big issue back when that song came out. I'm pretty sure.
Anyways,
hopefully it wasn't a real number.
I think. But anyways,
that's evil.
Yeah, come on now. Anyways, Danny, what's your phone number?
Everyone out there.
Where can people find you?
Instagram, Danny PT Miles, at Danny PT Miles. I have TikTok. They're all at Danny PT Miles.
Nice and consistent.
Yeah, because that's Patrick Thomas.
Patrick
is my
Thomas.
middle name.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. What else I got? Facebook.
You're on Facebook? People want to reach out on Facebook?
I guess so. I don't check it very much.
No.
If I haven't responded for a month, I probably haven't looked at it. But
it's not you.
Instagram, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the best way.
And they can find you and find your music. And yeah, this album, I didn't mention this before, but I actually saw you perform at Into the Abyss, the
Record Store Day.
Record Store Day. That was when I first, and I was like, I was kind of in and out, and the owner there, Brad's like, you got to stay for this. Like, if you're a fan of Madlib, like, stick around. And it was awesome. Sweet. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm like, okay, drums, especially like it's drums, performance art, totally gonna at least experience it, and it was fantastic.
That show, which I still will do, I'm sure at some point. It always gets like a really good response.
People
are just
it?
like, I've never really seen anything like that, so that makes me really proud. And I have drummer friends who are just like, holy crap, you just got rid of the band. That's awesome. You don't have to deal with any of that crap.
No, you just have to like perform an exact 32-minute set. It has its other, as someone who's just an electric guitar performer, like I've tried to imagine doing what you did.
Yeah.
And the hurdle you have to do to kind of like get it to the point where you're going to perform, like you do have to kind of have it set in some way, whether you're playing to a backing or whether you're doing some sort of visuals. Like there's a lot of work that goes into that.
I spent like at least a month, maybe more, because I was like terrified of performing it. I had this idea, and so I like sat in the studio where I have my drums for like months, just like with the video playing and just like recording it and making sure I was like as on as I could be and just tweaking it, and still was terrified to like go out and do it, but I think it worked out. I think it's a cool thing. The one thing I will say about it is a lot of work, like as far as like setup.
Yep.
Because it's a There's percussion involved in my kit. There's a whole like rig involved in like my tracks in the video. There's the screen and the projector and like all these different things that I have to lug around in my car and then set up by myself in usually a short amount of time, because I'm not, headlining big festivals. I'm like opening for people, taking a bunch of space on stage. Like, you know what I mean? And like, so usually like if I am opening with that show, I have my everything kind of set up to the side and run it on quickly. And then like go and then like take it all off.
Take it all off really quickly.
So it's been actually like I think I was driving to like Sudbury to do a show for that set with like barely fitting in the car, just like driving for 5 hours.
You got
with
the projector hanging
like,
up here.
in my face, like can't see with the mirrors. I'm like, this is mental. And so like I had started working on some of this new soul stuff where I was singing. I was like, it'd be awesome to be traveling with a mic and like not have to take all this crap. And I am gonna incorporate. My plan is to, with my solo show, when I can do it, is incorporate it all into a show and like do it all. But that obviously will be a setup for a time that I have the time to set up, probably more like headlining shows and when I get to that point. Yeah. But right now, like when I'm doing this new stuff, I'm just like have my tracks and like a mic. It's really nice. It's nice as a drummer that's been doing this for decades to not have to lug around a bunch. Yeah.
Like, am I cheating right now? This doesn't feel
Why
right.
Is it so easy?
So for those, let's give some context. So you're doing the drums, the Madlib style stuff, and then you're now dabbling into like being, I guess, like a vocal frontman, and I'll say a vocal frontman because in this you basically were a frontman but on the drums. Yeah. So at what point were you? Again, this is kind of a question I've been asking. Like, at what point did you kind of switch? Like, oh, I think I can do this vocal thing. I want to do this vocal thing. I think I'm gonna do this vocal thing.
Yeah, what happened was I was just like making a lot of beats. I think I just love making music, so I'm like always working on music, and so I just had like all these beats, and I was working with different rappers, on and singers on. I'll show this. This is the ruined version. So this is like all features. They're connected. So this has got Shad and Kevin Drew and Socrates and Lee Reed and Aquaculture, and the list goes on of like amazing.
Tariq on here too.
Tariq,
yeah,
like amazing, like incredible. Every song is like amazing in its own right on that. Everyone killed it. But again, you're like kind of waiting. I'm on their timeline to somewhat when you're like collaborating with people, and I want to work fast. I get excited. So I think there was just a point where I was like, I made the beat for Not Gonna Fit In is what the song is called now. But at the time, I made that beat. And then all of a sudden, I just started like, I'm just going to sing on it. And I like sang on it. And it was called People Follow. Originally, I did what is now the first verse of that song was basically what the only lyrics were in that song. And it was a little more of like, I guess it would be more in like the Prodigy world. So a little more like electronic. It didn't have the verses in the chorus. I definitely have like,
I was going to say Chemical Brothers.
Yeah. So it was more Chemical Brothers-ish originally. Yeah. And so when I made that and I just like had recorded it, and I was listening to it. I couldn't stop listening to it. Not in like an egotistical way. It was like, is this good? Like, I kind of think it's good. Like, I was just like, I don't know. So I invited Lee Reed and Ben Rispin over to my place, who I had been collaborating with before, and they knew my hip-hop stuff. I was like, can I show you guys a song? And they're like, yeah, of course. And I showed it to them. They were both like, this is crazy. Like, this is really good. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. And that, like, their confidence in it gave me the confidence to just like go with what I was feeling and start just like writing and singing and doing that. So that was the first release, weirdly, I guess not weirdly, but it wasn't intended to be because I had made a lot of songs, but Not Gonna Fit In was the one that all the people I showed the record to and different July Talk people, like everyone felt like that was the best introduction from what I had been doing to what I'm doing now. So that's why it was the first release. But that was the first one I made. And again, that song it got to the point where I was very confused by that song because I reworked it. I had showed it to some people with having new songs more done, like developed, and like showing them stuff, even maybe like All We Do Is Party at this point, like showing the album to people and then being like, that one seems unfinished. And so I tried to like work Not Gonna Fit In many times. And there was many different choruses and versions of that song. And that was the one that ended up being the fave. But
what's that fat rattling sound in it?
So that beat is like, I started with live drums, which were actually intended to be drums for July Talk, just to write to. Like I just recorded a bunch of drums and I was like sending them out for them to just like write to. And then I had this like, Ben gave me this vinyl that had all these sound effects and crap. It was like a BBC like sound effects vinyl. And that's a drill. The main like is just like a drill sound. Like
really?
Some sort of like industrial drill.
Okay.
That I just like ended up playing kind of like a guitar. And then there's like cats and weird voices, and I ended up scratching in it, like guitar feedback, and there's all kinds of, I do intend to like kind of do a breakdown of that beat. I do want to do some of these videos that I know are popular TikTok-y stuff and kind of like show a bit of my process, because I do feel like there's a little bit of depth to it. There's like some cool things that happen. Like I'm using a lot of live instruments, which I don't think is super common in that genre, and like vinyl samples aren't necessarily that common these days either. Like a lot of VSTs are being used and stuff like that. So I'm very influenced by Madlib, and there's a YouTube thing made by Mass Appeal called Rhythm Roulette, where they give all these producers, like LP from Run the Jewels does one, and like they blindfold them and put them in a record store. They get to choose blindfolded 3 records, and then they have to go make a beat out of it, and it's super fun. And that's kind of like, yeah, I just have fun. That idea.
Yeah.
Just like limiting yourself and just like working.
One thing that I love about your music is that when I'm listening with headphones, like I don't know what's coming next.
Yeah.
And I think that's really exciting. And for me, especially again with like Madlib, it's like, you know that these are going to be like kind of like 1 to 2 minute vignettes. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, what's happening? What's this sound? And for me, as someone who like, I do love production, it's like, I don't know what's happening here. Like you have this like, in All I Do Is Party, you have this like woozy sound. I'm like, what's this? How's he making this? How's he making that? And what's exciting about your music, and this is for someone who's really into like playing your own instruments, it's like I can assure myself that it's not just something on a computer. Maybe it is.
I don't. I actually don't, and there's no offense. Like, I'm not saying this in like an elitist type of way.
No,
like VSTs are
and
cool, and there's a lot of great tools to use these days. But like, I think just out of that like Jack White spite, like I think to fight against all what's going on.
My brain just went with Jack White. That's so funny.
So I just use like mostly, well, like I guess instrumentally, like all analog at this point.
Yeah. So then the thing is that for me, that really opens it up. It's like that could literally be any sound in the entire world. So I'll ask very quickly before we move on to something else. What is the woozy sound in
That's a Moog. I got this, the Moog grandmother synth. And that thing is just like, I have so much fun with it. So that like waspy sound, like wee, wee, wee. Yeah. That's just a Moog that I was probably like playing with like the pitch bending, and then, you know, put it through like pedals and whatever, just different things, and just like mess with it. But yeah, like I don't know if there's one sample on that. I don't know if it is, but in that song, and it's the person going party. Other than that, that's all live instruments. There's like live bass, live drums, live Moog, live many different synths and stuff like that. It
sounds as fun. The music sounds as fun as it sounds that it's fun to make it. Like if you know,
I'm glad it comes through, because like I've had a lot of fun making music in the past, but I think this record I'm working on is definitely the most fun I've had working on music, because there's no limitations. I'm not trying to please anyone other than myself.
Love that.
Like I'm just trying to like, I mean, Ben Rispin, who I've mentioned a few times, he'll come in. He's definitely a collaborator and songwriter on this record, the stuff I'm working on. But it really kind of, in the way to explain it is like, I'll work on a song to the point where it's like very close to done. Like I feel like there's a feeling in me that it's not done. But I can't really figure out what it is that's not done about it. And he'll come over and like, I'll play it for him. He'll be like, I got ideas. I got it. Yeah. And so then we'll just start for hours. He's kind of just like, I'm the editing guy and the performing guy. But he'll be like I guess Rick Rubin of it all in a way, and just be like, do this. And sometimes he's like, I've got really good at editing because I have to be quick. And sometimes we've had things that happen that I do mess up an edit. Like I don't end up moving everything. You know, sometimes I'll just move
like 8 of the 13 tracks.
To make like more bars for this idea, and I'll like mess up and not move everything over, and then I'll like play it back, and something will happen. You'll be like, "What is that? That's crazy." Okay, I got a new idea for this part. You know what I mean? Because there is a lot of levels, I think, to most of my beats. There's a lot of shit going on that you don't like. I don't even remember sometimes like what's going on in the song. Because I'm just like making it in the moment and then trying to arrange it to a point where I'm like happy with it to go like listen to it and just like kind of feel like it's somewhat done. But there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of avenues, which Ben brings all these like fresh ideas. Because it's like we obviously have different brains. I feel like sometimes I think we all have our like creative safeties or the things that come naturally to us, and like so when you're collaborating with people, they have different versions
have their
of
own,
that.
Oh,
they have their own, right? They have their own. That you have your own thing. Like I could show you a song of mine, and you would have like, I have an idea for an arrangement that like I never thought about.
Never done that.
Never thought about that. And so that's what's really great to have them come in, kind of like in the final stages of something, and not always necessarily like sometimes. I think it's final stages, but again, there'll be a whole new thing that happened. But in general, that's kind of like what happens, and we just take it to the finish line together.
I love it, man. I love it. This is I say this every episode. This is my favorite hour of the week because it doesn't matter what's going on. It is a beautiful day today, but it doesn't matter what's going on. Just like two folks, just like. Chat and music.
Yeah,
it's
the best.
It really is the best. I am blessed to have this, and I'm so grateful for you to take the time and speak with me. And like your journey is so unique and so exciting, and it's like it sounds like you're in the middle of your journey.
Yeah, I think that's what I love about it. I came from like a family that is a sports family, and I was a very good athlete. Naturally from like my grandpa played in the CFL for the Tigers actually.
Oh really?
And my uncle played professional hockey. Like I come from a family that was like you should play sports. It was a bit of a struggle even though my dad played drums and stuff. Like I don't think my family ever thought of music as like that's a solid career, and it kind of is. But kind of isn't. But
a solid lifestyle. Let's call it lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle, and it's something that like is in me and I can't get out of it. Like and so even like when July Talk was starting, I had to make a choice when that band started to kind of take off, whether I was a sales rep for Mill Street Brewery at the time, which was a great job.
Great gig for a musician, sure.
And but whether to like quit that and go on tour and not make money for a second and see where it goes, or to like let that band go off without me. I obviously chose to do the thing that like doesn't happen in your life. You can always get another job. So I followed the creative thing. And it worked out. But that felt like that could be the end of my music career. And then so like you do that. Now this feels like again like a whole new thing that like is just beginning and blossoming. And I'm super excited to see where it goes. I think I'm just like hungrier than ever. And that's why I love it. The sports reference thing was like when you're in sports, if you don't make it by like 18, you're done. Really, kind of, generally. No, not black or white, but like kind of. And in music and being creative, like, I don't know, you could, who knows, it could be 70 years old and just like something happens and you make really cool shit. You know, like Charles Bradley. Like how old was Charles Bradley when he popped off? Probably 60 years old or something.
I have a similar experience where a sports guy growing up, because like I grew up like the Jays won the World Series back to back and I was 7 years old. Like I'm obviously gonna be into that. And then like my whole thing was in my mid-20s I had to make a choice. Like I was really getting into like playing goalie in hockey and like playing like all this like rec sports. It's like I feel like with sports, like if I hurt myself, I can't really play anymore, right? But like music is something that I can do forever, right? And even just being in like locker rooms, like I always felt like I felt better, like I felt like better with musicians than I did with athletes. I don't know if it's me or the culture or whatever.
That's why
it may be.
I left. I agree with you. There's something in the, sorry to interrupt, but just because you said that, that was a huge reason why I played very competitive hockey, junior, and all that. Like there was just something with the culture that rubbed me the wrong way. Unfortunately, there's some crappy people that do crappy things.
Yeah. And then just like, you know, in doing this podcast and talking to so many artists, like these are my people, like this. And I feel like you're probably in the same boat where like you're doing a bunch of things growing up, but like this is where you fit in and this is where you belong. And luckily those guys took you for a ride in your early 20s to get you going on July Talk. Cause like your music's great. Being here in the city, like you're a big influence on a lot of people. And I think your presence here is noted in like a very positive way. So before we do a full wrap up, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me on. And thank you for the kind words you just said. I really love Hamilton, and I do feel welcomed. Yeah, you are. You blend right in. I've met so many cool people. Cool city. It's cool. Really cool. Yeah, I wouldn't have stayed because I'm an import as well. I wouldn't have stayed if it wasn't cool. Like I wouldn't have stayed if I didn't feel. Yeah. So I got a couple quick, fast questions for you to wrap up if you're okay with that. Definitely. The questions are fast, but the answers may not be. Have you been listening to me? Yeah. It's clearly like this guy never shuts up. I didn't mean like that. I meant like I always assume this section is going to go quickly, but then I'm like, wait, tell me more. I'm like, Russ, shut it. Keep going. Try to be quick. Okay. How many layers is too many layers in a track? I mean, I get to the point sometimes where my computer doesn't work anymore. And that's, I guess, when the layers are too many. I love that. Most memorable city that you've visited in your tours? Berlin popped into my mind immediately. I love Berlin. Germany is really cool. There's lots. New Orleans is sick. Austin. I haven't been to any of those cities yet. But there's still time. Awesome. What's the oldest piece of equipment that you still currently use? I have an old mixer, Tascam mixer from the 90s that I love that I record drums through and like saturate the hell out of it. I just feel like there's like something about like riding drums in the red on analog that just saturates them in like a real like thick, grimy way. I love that stuff. And then lastly, this is an unnecessary question, but after a gig, you've brought your whole drum set, you've brought the projector, you've done it all. It went flawlessly. You take everything back in the car. What are you eating? I'm not like a massive eater after. Like you got to understand as a drummer, maybe some drummers do. Pizza probably is like the easiest thing for me to digest. But like it's kind of like, especially a July Talk show or something, for instance, like it's like running 10K. And I know this for a fact because I had a doctor scientist lady like put all these heart monitors. She does a study on drummers, and it is like almost legitimately the same amount of calories and like heart work as running 10K. So I'm not hungry. Like you're kind of like, I don't know if you're like super hungry after you run 10K immediately. You're kind of like I need to like chill for a second. Like adrenaline's going too. Like I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, but pizza, we always have pizza. I love pizza. Pizza's easy. Yeah. But that was cool. That was cool. I've always been curious about that, specifically for drummers. Like that's tough on the body. It may not be for everyone. That's me personally. Like I feel like I just worked out, and so I just need I can't eat right away. Gotta like chill out. Yeah. One last question for you. Question statement. You've been published. Yeah. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Yeah. So you have a book that just came out a little while ago. The Beauty of Vultures. Can we share it? Do you want to tell us all about this? Yeah. So it's called The Beauty of Vultures, and it's a collaboration with Wendy McGrath, who is a author from Edmonton, Alberta, and her son is Eamon McGrath, who was the original guitar player for July Talk and still one of the most underrated musicians out there, in my opinion. Amazing musician. Yeah, so there's a period where I very into birding and nature and all that stuff. There might have been a summer where I did a lot of mushrooms that kind of sparked that. I started seeing like a lot of man-made things as just like what they are, like fake, and I wanted to connect more with nature. Very hippie, shroomy crap. But that's what happened. So I like got out and I got a camera. I like did a lot of bird photography and took it from an angle that was more art driven. So like I wanted to do photos that you could hang on a wall as art. And Wendy at one point on Facebook like reached out. She's like, I want to write poems to your photos. And I was skeptical at first because she is in her 60s and I wasn't really sure how, like what, if it would be like folky, you know what I mean? If the
mediums would match kind
of thing. Well, it's just like, is this going to be kind of like cheesy and like folky, whatever? But obviously go ahead and do it. Like, that's great. And then she sent back the first poem and I read, I was like, holy crap, this is like dark and like really interesting and has, she's a wealth of knowledge of writing and poetry and art history and history in general, war, whatever, just like and music. Like she has so much knowledge that my pictures were inspiring her and like taking her to a place that reminded her of maybe like a painting from the 1800s, whatever. And she would write these cool poems about it. And that's what this book became. It took us a while to get published. I think we started working on this in like 2017, 16, 17, like a long time ago. But she was persistent. It's obviously like a bit of a niche, weird book that publishers weren't super like, this is kind of weird like concept of bird photography poetry book. I think but it's definitely got like a punky vibe to it. It definitely fits the aesthetic I live within.
This is the kind of book that like I would want to have out for people to, because even the Beauty of Vultures, it's like actually like, you know, a lot of people think of vultures as, you know, an ugly bird.
Vultures are my favorite bird. They're fascinating.
They're huge.
That's kind of where the title a little bit and the photo, but yeah, it's not something I ever thought would happen. It's kind of like out of left field, but very proud of it. And we've done a few readings for people and they all like the feedback. I haven't been to a ton of poetry or book readings in my life. The feedback that I've been getting from those is that like, that was one of the most interesting ones I've ever been to. And I think
but maybe probably because you haven't been to many of them.
Well, that's the thing is like maybe, there's like this part like performance-y type of thing that I take from music. I want to try to like entertain people in a way. And so does Wendy. She's like an amazing reader and she reads the poems and we talk about it and discuss, you know, it's like.
And you drag your drums out and you're like, no.
I mean, there was thoughts of doing that type of thing, like adding more of a musical performance to it, but it never panned out yet. Yeah. I've been too busy working on the other stuff. Doesn't mean it won't. So yeah, the book's really cool. I recommend checking it out. Like
Pick it up.
I'm very proud of it.
If you don't know where to get it, if you go online, you can't find it, message Danny.
Yeah. You can message me on Instagram, Danny PT Miles, or it's at Newest Press.
Sorry, Newest?
Newest
Press. We'll put a thing.
Yeah.
So people can get it. Danny, this is
Let's make sure
one last time.
Yeah. Newest.
It's cool that I didn't know that it started with the photos and then it was like photos.
Yeah, so she was inspired by it. It's cool.
Love it. Danny, drums. We're talking live performance on your own. You do DJing, which we didn't even get into.
Bernie's every Thursday. If you're in Hamilton, 6 to 11. I'm really on 6:30 till 10:30.
Yeah, but come early. Come early.
It's a great bar.
Hang out, chat, hang out with Danny a bit.
Yeah.
Talk vultures. Ask him what his favorite birds are. I'm sure he has a list. Yeah. But that's for the next episode. We can't get into it. Yeah. Stay tuned. Danny, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for taking the time today. This is a lot of fun. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
And keep being creative. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you so much. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's a wrap.
Oh, yeah, sorry.